Hey, I'm Yanis and I've just started in GitLab's Incubation Engineering department working on the Jamstack. This is my first weekly update video, so hello and welcome. Um, there's a few areas I'd like to work on in terms of improving the experience that Jamstack developers have with GitLab. That said, GitLab Pages is an amazing feature for developers who want to deploy static sites with frameworks like Next, Nuxt, Gatsby, or 11t. So I want to build on that. One of the things about Pages is that the developer experience right now isn't too great. So the first thing I've been working on is to improve the onboarding experience. If you open the Pages site for the first time in a project, this is what you're going to see. You'll see a dialog saying that it isn't configured yet, and it'll send you right off into the documentation. So the thing with Pages is that its build pipeline is working from the GitLab CI YAML file, which is great for configuring all kinds of details, but there are a lot of developers who may not be too familiar with that concept. So my goal is to flatten the learning curve on this. So what I've been working on is a get started with Pages site that will show when a young project doesn't have a Pages deployment or a GitLab CI YAML file yet. And this is how it's looking right now. Instead of redirecting you away from the Pages site, you can remain on this web page and get guided through building that YAML file. On the left-hand side, we have the three most important settings that need to run to build and deploy an application. The idea is that instead of selecting a template that may or may not be available for the framework the user uses, we're using open input fields where the user can configure almost all common JavaScript frameworks and non-JavaScript frameworks. In a later iteration, we could pre-fill those fields with some sensible defaults, but for now, the effect that this approach will have is that it is just extremely generic. So in our example, I input an installation command like npm ci, or if I'm using Yarn, I could be using yarn install. And see how this updates the YAML file on the right-hand side straight away. This will give the user a great feeling of where they would make those same inputs inside the file. Now we're adding a build command. This is a Nuxt application, so the build command is like npm run generate. The nice thing about this is a source editor, so I can make some additional changes right here, even beyond what the input fields offer, like adding a second build step, npm cache cleans, for example. Once you're done, you can commit this file straight from this page, add a commit message, select a branch, and done. Obviously, this needs a little bit of polishing, but this is a nice low-effort entry to the world of GitLab CI/CD, and I hope it makes Pages just a little bit better. Yeah, so this week my goal was to build a high-level prototype. I'll work more on the details from next week onwards. Until then, I thank you very much for watching and see you next week.